to go far for our next segment here to get some great analysis of Eugene's Elite 11 Regional. It's two box time. All we need is Blair. You were there. You saw the top player in the class and the alpha dog, as we named him, Dylan Raiola. So my big question here is just how wide is the gap between him and the rest of the quarterbacks in Oregon this weekend?
Well, Emily, I think I need a bigger screen because my arms are way past the gap, right? Like it's not big enough to fit into what you see on your screen now. He's a tremendous prospect. He has all the tools that you want in a high caliber quarterback, the easy arm action, the easy delivery, the mechanics. He's got elite arm strength. He's got the ability to fit throws into every window. And at times it looks like he's even harnessing it. He's maybe dialing it back because his arm is so strong. He's really, really seamless when he's moving outside the pocket, and he's got an ability to just kind of flick his wrist and hit receivers in stride. So he's a tremendous player, one of the best quarterbacks that I think I've ever seen in the camp setting. And I got to see him in action in pads a couple of times last year as a junior. And, there were a lot of things that he still needs to work on when the pads are on, when he's got a helmet on, when, the whistles are blowing, as you want to say. But I think he's got every intangible and every tool that you look for in the number one quarterback in a class.
You mentioned watching him as a junior to now. Where have you seen that growth from his game from early on to what you saw this weekend, where, I even see he's throwing flat-footed and just, like you said, flicking the wrist?
I think he's just more in tune with his mechanics and I think a bit more comfortable in his own frame. I think he was still growing a couple years ago, right? And still learning, the intricacies of his mechanics, his delivery, what works for him, what doesn't work for him. I got a chance to catch up with him briefly after the camp. And, a couple days ago, he was in Texas. His sister's a volleyball player at TCU, and he spent 3 days there in the state of Texas. And who, by the way, did he get a chance to train with? The one and only Patrick Mahomes. So this is a player who I think is picking the brain of a lot of different quarterbacks and understanding how to develop and how to improve his own game. His father was the center for Matt Stafford, so he's got a really good relationship with the former Super Bowl winner and the current NFL Rams starting quarterback. So yeah, he's got a lot of different people to kind of pick the brain of, and I think he's just continuing to scratch the surface of his potential. I think he's refined his body a little bit as well. He's a bit more mobile and a bit more light on his feet, and I'm really excited to see the steps that he continues to take this summer.
Yeah, still another year and change until we'll see him playing college football. All right, there were quite a few talented passers there as well. So let's start with 2024 quarterback Ty McCutchen out of Hawaii. We've talked about the gap, so to speak, between Hawaii and the mainland, but he does have a pair of Power 5 offers. They have found him, Washington State and Arizona. So what stood out about his performance this weekend?
Yeah, Ty McCutcheon is a player who hasn't been able to start at the varsity level because he's been playing behind a player that was committed to Hawaii and a 2-year varsity starter there at Punahou School in Honolulu. But he's ready to take the reins and he's ready to take that next step in his development. He's seen a number of schools drop in during the contact period in the month of January. He has those offers from Arizona and Washington State, and he could very well be the next big quarterback from the state of Hawaii. You think about Marcus Mariota and Tua Tagovailoa and Jaden DeLora, what he's doing at Arizona, even a Dylan Gabriel, what he was able to do at UCF and is now at Oklahoma. So Ty McCutcheon is a name to know. He's the number one quarterback in the state of Hawaii. I really liked what we saw out of him in the camp setting, and I'm really excited to see what he does this spring evaluation period because coaches just need an excuse to get out to the 808 and to the Aloha State, and I think Ty McCutcheon is going to give them a reason, especially those that are looking for a quarterback still here in the 24 class.
It'd be a fruitful trip outside of just going to Hawaii. You'd also see a pretty darn good quarterback perform. How about another one? EJ Caminong has been locked into Washington since last October, and he was one of the standouts at the regional this weekend. It sounds like it wasn't perfect, but what do you make of his performance?
Really, really good arm strength. Maybe one of the better arms that we saw in that top group among the 2024 class. You see it there. He's got really easy delivery and kind of gets the ball out quickly. The one area where he did struggle, in my opinion, and also Brandon Huffman, who was there and covers EJ Caminong very closely there in the state of Washington, was with his footwork. He was a bit inconsistent. There were times where maybe he was letting the ball sail because he wasn't getting his base set underneath him. But I think he's got a lot of really good clay there to mold. You know, he's committed to Washington. They also picked up Austin Mack in the 24 class, but remember, he reclassified to 2023. So now the Huskies, you know, have a bit of a staggered system there with quarterbacks. It's going to be interesting because there's a number of schools still pursuing him. A&M, Oregon State, you know, Washington State we're scheduled to come check him out, throw it here in the next couple of weeks. You know, Nebraska has been kind of poking around. So I think this is a player who's going to be, you know, maybe a hot commodity and maybe a potential flip candidate here in the months to come, and for good reason, because he's got a lot of really good talent.
All right, let's look to the future with some underclassmen from the 2025 and 2026 classes. Those are guys finishing their freshman years. That is absolutely nuts. Among those classes, though, who stood out?
I really liked Akili Smith Jr. You know, he was in town in Eugene to go visit Oregon, where his father played. He went to go check out the spring game. He was among the top underclassmen group. A really big frame. I thought maybe 6'3", 6'4", 190, 195. Really good mobility. I think he's got all the makeup and the tool sets that you like to see from a quarterback that is still developing. Still needs to refine his motion and get a little bit more accurate, but I really like what we saw out of Akili Smith Jr., the player from the state of California down in San Diego. And then another player who just picked up his first offer is Kalen Fisher from Central Michigan. He's a player from the state of Arizona at Highland. Also did not start last year as a sophomore, but has 2 years to go on a team that just captured the 5A state championship there in the state of Arizona. And this is another player who I think is still scratching the surface of his potential. 6'3", about 195, 200. Really, really impressive physically, and was just kind of moving the ball downfield with ease. Has a really quick and short delivery, kind of throws the ball from that ear angle and kind of gets it out quick. So I think once he maybe gets a little bit more comfortable in airing it out and maybe letting the ball kind of, run its course instead of trying to just get it out quickly, I think he's going to be a terrific prospect. And Emily, before we move on, I did want to mention that Ty McCutcheon texted me just now, and he said
Really?
that his flight from Eugene to San Francisco after the camp, he made it. But then he had a connecting flight from San Francisco to Vegas. That flight in Vegas got delayed, and he was trying to make it and race back to Honolulu to make it in time for his first class today, this morning, and was not able to make it. He had a delayed flight in Vegas, so he missed the first couple periods. So, you alluded to it, right? It's tough for some of these players from Hawaii that are not on the mainland to make it to some of these camps and get the exposure, and that's the lengths that some of these players are going for. So, unfortunately, Ty McCutcheon misses his first two classes today, but still makes it back in time to, catch the tail end of some courses.